You are now in tune to the sound.
Hi, what's up? This is Joe Oakley. I'm here for Code of the Streets in central London to speak to a true pioneer of drum and bass music, Mr. Roni Size.
I was brought up around a lot of black music, seeing rap music grow into hip hop, being a b-boy, breakdancing, you know. I bought Lino, had the tracksuit, I had the old school Pumas. I remember being like 10, 12 years old, running around the streets and being pounded by bass lines all day. If your music wasn't rattling the windows, then it wasn't quite loud enough.
Was it as soon as you could be making music, you were making music?
As soon as I could work out a way to make music without having to play guitars or be a drummer. I got a Spectrum ZX 48K Spectrum, tried to program with that. I had a BBC computer. You know, we had your mum's old gramophone, you try to scratch a couple of tunes on there.
What was it that came first though? I mean, the DJing or the producing?
Getting my first Atari computer, my first sampler, that kind of just set me up to saying, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to program beats. I could sit down in a room by myself and still sound like, you know, 10 people. It was always about being able to go into a room and like program and come out with a complete, you know, finished piece of music.
What training was there for, you know, what you use today? The skills
back in my day, there was no music technology courses. There was nothing. You know, I was very fortunate that when I got to my end of my school years, I kind of stumbled on a building called the Basement, and rather than them telling you what to do, they'd ask you. They bought a drum machine. And once I learned every button on that drum machine, they said, now what? I goes, well, they bought a sampler. So I learned every button on the sampler, then it just developed into a desk. And this place became like a small music technology place for kids who didn't really want to walk the streets and get into trouble. When we won the American Music Prize, we gave the £25,000 to sustain the building to stay open. It was something that was my salvation. It was a great place for me.
What would you say was your first big break?
I think it was a 3 o'clock in the afternoon set, what they call Tribal Gathering, but it used to be called Universe. It was back in the days when the organisation was terrible, so all the DJs were turning up 2 hours late. Mm-hmm. So I had to play like 4 hours, 5 hours, you know what I mean, because none of the DJs were coming, and every step of the way the people just loved it.
How and when did Full Cycle, you know, how did it come about? How did the family grow?
Myself and Di kind of met just through walking down the street. We just saw each other, just started talking, and you know, we found out we got the same birthday, so we're like, you know, we joined at the hip. You know, me and Cross met each other just through going on through youth clubs, and I met Suf, who used to hire bits of my sound system, and then, you know, Dynamite, we kind of met him just by being on the road. We kind of came together and just used to smoke weed and just, you know, play chess, cook, and maybe if we could go around to Smith & Mighty studio. The person that really gelled us together was Brian G, because we didn't really have direction. And Brian came down to Bristol, he goes, yeah, we're going to start a record label called B Recordings. He introduced us to a lot of people in London, put out a couple of tunes, put out Agility with myself and Di, Deceivers, VW1, which is Crust. He kept on feeding our tunes out to the scene, like Brian would play them on dub plate, Frost.
What was the first big tune that put Roni Size on the map?
It wasn't until Giles Peterson, you know, someone outside of the jungle scene, picked up on what was going on, and It's a Jazz Thing was the record for me which kind of opened up a door. And this is a record that I just made. I just gave them dats. I didn't even, you know, I was not conscious about what we were doing. We just gave them the dats and then they would play the music. But the record which changed a lot of the perception about our sound was Music Box. Myself and Di put that together. It was just a collage of our history, a lot of jazz, you know, a lot of breaks, a lot of hip hop records, and that was on our own label as well, Full Cycle. You know, that was the label that myself and Cross started, because we had so many tunes, we couldn't put them all out on people. You know what I mean? So we had to decide if we're going to put some music out here, some music out there. The rest is history, man.
Do you listen to the kids' demos when they come in still? Or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Listening to music which is coming from, you know, people's back pockets is important. With the label, we're hands-on. We're 99% hands-on. You know, we're now fully independent. We've got a good team of people around us. You know, everyone's pretty focused. We're using all our hard-earned own cash. Do you know what I mean? There's no majors involved now.
When did the whole live element come into it? Because for me, that's what brought about the Mercury Music Prize.
Absolutely.
And isn't it essential for drum and bass to reach that wider audience?
I used to believe that it was important to try to adopt an audience who were too busy stroking their chins and didn't quite get it. And you know, I felt like it was my mission to go out and you have to understand this.
Yeah.
I just joined a major record company. New Forms was a skeleton of ideas I put out. Once we delivered the album to Talking Loud, they were like, okay, we've got the record, let's go live now. And I was quite dazzled by it. But it was a challenge, and I like a challenge. It just gives it more of an organic element. You know, live doesn't have to be a drummer and a bass player and keyboards. It doesn't. Live can also be, you know, just someone up there, just, you know, playing a drum machine.
This album, you know, it's the very fact that it is for all the different audiences, isn't it? Isn't it? As in, there's tracks on there where I can imagine them being performed live, and there's tracks on there I can imagine going crazy to at the end club.
I call the album my Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
Because there's like two of everything. There's two tear-out tunes on there. There's two quite soulful tunes on there. There's two ragga tunes on there. You know, there's some old vocals from Jocelyn Brown. There's some new from Beverly Knight. This record is like saying, look, okay, we're doing it alone now. There's no Talking Loud. There's no major record company. There's no Universal. We're going out and we're doing. If we ever needed the support of our people, it's now. You know, people have to rise to the occasion because independents are falling by the waist. We want Full Cycle to be recognised for putting out all different types of music, not just drum and bass and jungle.
You happy with drum and bass at the moment? What are your thoughts? You know, global scene and all that. You happy with how it's progressing still?
When I get asked about the scene and people, you know, ask me if there's one thing I would be disappointed with the scene, that we have very few artists. I would love to see more artists. Like people like High Contrast, who's got a #2 album. I can't wait to get #3 and #4 album, #5 album.
The Mercury Music Prize, that at the time I didn't realise just how big an award that is. It's what people want to buy at that time.
We didn't know what it was, but I would like to believe that we had some responsibility in making people aware. As much as they made people aware to our music, there's people who didn't know what Mercury Music Prize was who now wants to win it because of that moment. People think that I invented drum and bass. There's people out there who would believe that because that was their first initial take on it, was that award. So it's down to me to go out and let people know about the pre-history, about the Goldies and the LTJ Bookums and the Jumping Jack Frost and the Brian G's, the Wax Doctors, and all the people up until that point. So that award for me was a testament to the scene.
Privilege, sir.
Nice, man.
Thank you very much.